There is a quiet magic in the hours before the world wakes up. At 5 a.m., the streets are still, the noise is gone, and your thoughts are your own. Most people see it as an hour too early, but in truth, it's an hour that gives you something no other time can: control. Control over your day before the demands, the messages, and the noise of life rush in. When you wake at 5 a.m., you are not just waking early, you are claiming the most valuable currency you have: your time. The morning is like a blank page, untouched by the chaos of the day. At that hour, there are no urgent calls, no social media distractions, and no one asking for your attention. You are free to choose exactly how you invest those moments, whether it's in reading, exercise, planning, or reflection. This is not about becoming a morning person. It's about becoming an intentional person. The truth is, your productivity, your mindset, and even your health are shaped not by how many hours you have, but by how you use the first hours you get. Those first hours set the tone for everything that follows. When you begin the day with purpose, the rest of the day bends to that purpose. There's a reason high performers across every field, from business to sports to the arts, often begin their day long before sunrise. They understand that the early hours are not just quieter, they are richer. Richer with clarity, creativity, and energy. Science even shows that your brain is at its sharpest in the morning, your willpower is at its highest, and your ability to focus is at its peak. Waking at 5 a.m. forces a shift in discipline. It means going to bed with intention, creating boundaries around your evening, and choosing self-respect over late-night distractions. It builds a kind of mental toughness that spills into every other part of your life. You start seeing opportunities you missed before, simply because you've stopped starting your day in a rush. And here's the most surprising thing: you don't just gain more hours, you gain better hours. Hours where your mind is calm, your body is energized, and your heart is ready. The world changes when you do, and one of the most powerful ways to change is to start your day before the rest of the world does. Wake up at 5 a.m. and you won't just watch your life change, you'll feel it, you'll see it, and you'll live it. 5 keynotes of the speech. Waking up at 5 a.m. gives you complete control over the most distraction-free hours of the day. Early mornings provide mental clarity, higher focus, and peak willpower for intentional work. The first hours of your day set the tone for your mindset, productivity, and energy. Waking early builds discipline, self-respect, and stronger personal boundaries. The goal isn't to be a morning person, but to be an intentional person who uses time deliberately. Waking up at 5 a.m. is more than just adjusting your alarm clock. It's a deliberate decision to claim the most precious and scarce resource in your life: your uninterrupted time. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. From the moment the sun rises, your phone lights up with notifications, emails flood in, the world starts making demands on your attention, and the day seems to pull you in every direction but your own. But at 5 a.m., something remarkable happens. The world hasn't started yet. The streets are quiet, the air feels different, and there's an almost sacred stillness that you can feel in your bones. It's in these rare moments that you can operate without interference, without competing voices, and without the constant battle for your focus. This is not simply about having more hours, it's about having hours that belong entirely to you. When you wake at 5 a.m., you are stepping into a time of day that offers something no other time can: pure ownership over your schedule. You're not reacting to the world, you're shaping it. You decide how those early hours will be used, whether for physical exercise, deep work, learning, meditation, or planning. This kind of control is a gift in a world that constantly tries to dictate your priorities. You have the power to start your day on your own terms, not on someone else's timeline. That sense of control is transformative because it sets a tone of intention that carries through the rest of your day. This control also has a psychological effect. When you accomplish meaningful work before the rest of the world even wakes up, you gain a quiet sense of victory that no one can take away from you. Imagine starting the day already having exercised, read a chapter of a powerful book, written down your goals, and mapped out your tasks. By 8 a.m., while others are still waking up or scrolling aimlessly through their phones, you've already won half the day. This is not about outworking everyone else. It's about out-focusing yourself from who you used to be. That internal shift is what fuels consistent progress. The early hours create the ideal environment for what psychologists call deep work: focused, distraction-free effort that produces the highest quality results. Your brain is most alert in the morning, and your willpower is at its strongest because it hasn't been drained by decision fatigue or external pressures. By using 5 to tackle your most important tasks, you ensure they get done before the noise of the day can interfere. This is how leaders, entrepreneurs, writers, and athletes consistently make progress. They work on what matters most when their minds are freshest and their time is safest from interruptions. It's also worth noting that this control over your morning has a ripple effect on the rest of your life. When you start your day intentionally, you are more likely to make better choices throughout the day. You'll find it easier to prioritize your health, your learning, and your goals because you've already invested in them at the start. That sense of alignment creates momentum. It's why people who consistently wake early often report feeling calmer, more organized, and more in control, not because life is easier for them, but because they are actively steering it instead of being carried by its currents. There's also a subtle emotional benefit that comes from owning this time. The stillness of the morning gives you space to think, reflect, and reconnect with yourself in a way that's almost impossible once the day begins. You're able to hear your own thoughts more clearly without them being drowned out by the noise of the world. In those quiet hours, your goals feel sharper, your vision becomes clearer, and your motivation is more genuine because it's not competing with anyone else's agenda. This is why so many high achievers fiercely protect their early mornings. They're not just working, they're aligning themselves with their deepest values and long-term vision. Of course, waking up at 5 a.m. requires discipline, and discipline in one area tends to bleed into others. When you choose to get up early, you're also choosing to go to bed earlier, to cut out time-wasting habits, and to set boundaries that protect your rest. That discipline builds self-respect. You start to see yourself as someone who keeps promises to yourself, and that identity shift strengthens your confidence in every other area. You realize that you're not at the mercy of your environment, you're shaping it. Ultimately, waking at 5 a.m. and claiming those distraction-free hours isn't just about productivity, it's about freedom. It's about freeing yourself from the pressure of racing against the clock, freeing yourself from the demands of others before you've even had a chance to focus on yourself, and freeing your mind to operate in a state of clarity and intention. It's about starting the day with the quiet conviction that you are in charge of your time, your energy, and your life. Early mornings have a unique power over the human mind. At 5 a.m., the brain is in a state where focus, clarity, and willpower are naturally at their peak. This is not just a poetic observation. It's backed by psychology and neuroscience. Your mind, having rested through the night, is free from the mental clutter that builds up over the day. At this time, you haven't yet been pulled into conversations, endless notifications, or unexpected problems. Your energy is fresh, your thoughts are unclouded, and your willpower tank is full. This combination creates the perfect environment to do work that requires intention and concentration. It's in these hours that you can think deeply, create freely, and execute effectively without the constant tug of distractions. Focus is a limited resource. As the day goes on, your attention becomes fragmented by the number of small decisions and interruptions you face. This is why tasks that require deep thinking or creative problem solving become harder to tackle later in the day. By waking up early and dedicating that time to what matters most, you're giving your brain the best conditions to succeed. You're essentially working with your mind's natural rhythm instead of against it. The morning becomes a sanctuary for your most important work, and because it's uninterrupted, the quality of that work often surpasses anything you could produce during the chaos of the afternoon. Mental clarity is another gift that comes with the early hours. The absence of noise, both literal and figurative, creates space for your thoughts to organize themselves. Ideas come more easily because your brain isn't fighting for bandwidth. If you've ever noticed how problems seem easier to solve after a good night's sleep, it's because your subconscious has been quietly processing them while you rested. At 5 a.m., you have the advantage of acting on those fresh insights before they fade into the business of the day. This clarity can help you make better decisions, see opportunities more clearly, and approach challenges with a sharper mind. Willpower is often underestimated, but it is the foundation of discipline and achievement. Research shows that willpower functions like a muscle. It's strongest at the start of the day and weakens as it gets used. That means your ability to resist distractions, avoid temptations, and stay committed to your goals is at its highest in the morning. By starting your day early and using those hours for tasks that matter, you're making decisions while your willpower is still intact. This is why people who consistently wake early often find it easier to stick to exercise routines, maintain healthy eating habits, or dedicate time to learning new skills. They're using their mental strength before the wear and tear of the day begins. The combination of focus, clarity, and willpower at 5 a.m. creates a state of mind that is rare to find later in the day. It's not just about productivity, it's about quality. You're able to bring your full attention to the work in front of you, which often means you can accomplish in one early hour what might take 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Over time, this compounds. A single hour of high-quality effort each morning, multiplied over weeks and months, can lead to remarkable progress in your career, your health, or any personal project you care about. This time is also deeply personal. Because the world is quiet, the early hours give you a sense of intimacy with your own thoughts. You can reflect, plan, or engage in creative pursuits without the pressure of deadlines or the intrusion of other people's expectations. It's a moment to check in with yourself, to align your actions with your values, and to remind yourself of the bigger picture you're working toward. That kind of intentional start builds not only progress, but also peace of mind. In many ways, 5 a.m. is a symbol of choice. It's choosing to work with your mind's natural strengths instead of battling fatigue and distraction later in the day. It's choosing to invest your peak mental energy in the things that matter most. And it's choosing to protect your focus, clarity, and willpower like they are the rare resources they truly are. This choice, repeated daily, has the power to change not just how much you achieve, but the quality of your achievements and the satisfaction you feel along the way. The first hours of your day act like a blueprint for everything that follows. They set the emotional tone, the mental rhythm, and the level of energy you carry into the rest of your day. When those first hours are rushed, chaotic, or reactive, the rest of your day often mirrors that state. You find yourself moving from one urgent demand to another, feeling behind and overwhelmed before the morning is even over. But when you start your day intentionally, when you use the early hours to focus, to prepare, and to align yourself with your priorities. You give yourself an advantage that compounds hour by hour. At 5 a.m., you have the rare chance to set that tone before anyone else can disrupt it. The way you spend this time sends a powerful signal to your brain about what matters most. If you begin with calm, focused actions, your mind carries that calmness forward. If you begin with clarity, your decisions later in the day are shaped by that clarity. Starting the day with purpose doesn't just improve your mornings. It changes the way you approach challenges, conversations, and opportunities throughout the day. Energy is a key part of this equation. The body and mind are deeply connected, and how you engage them early determines how they will serve you later. If you spend your first hours in a sluggish, distracted state, you're telling your body and mind to operate at that level. But if you move with intention, whether through exercise, mindful breathing, or deep work, you prime your body for alertness and your mind for focus. This is why the early risers who use their mornings well often describe feeling ahead of the day rather than chasing it. They have already charged their mental and physical batteries before the demands begin. The first hours also offer a unique opportunity to reaffirm your direction. Every day brings distractions, unexpected problems, and opportunities to drift from your priorities. Without a clear starting point, it's easy to get pulled into other people's agendas. By dedicating your early hours to reviewing your goals, mapping your key tasks, or simply reflecting on your values, you anchor yourself to what matters. That anchor keeps you steady when the current of the day tries to pull you away. This intentional start also reduces decision fatigue. As the day goes on, your brain is forced to make countless choices, from trivial to significant, and each one chips away at your mental energy. By using your first hours to decide what's important and commit to it, you protect yourself from wasting energy on minor, unplanned decisions. You don't just save time, you save focus for the things that truly require it. There's also a psychological benefit to starting with accomplishment. If you use the first hours to complete something meaningful, whether it's finishing a workout, writing a page of a book, or making progress on a project, you build a sense of momentum. That momentum fuels motivation, making it easier to stay productive throughout the day. It's not just about getting a head start, it's about creating a mental state where you feel capable, prepared, and in control. The opposite is equally true. If you start the day with distraction, checking your phone, reacting to messages, or scrolling through social media, you invite a reactive mindset. Your brain becomes accustomed to seeking stimulation instead of creating value. That habit compounds just as much as the habit of starting with intention, except in the opposite direction. This is why protecting the first hours is so crucial. They are the foundation on which the rest of your day is built. And if the foundation is shaky, everything on top of it feels unstable. When you wake at 5 a.m., you have the rare privilege of shaping this foundation in silence without competition for your time. You can approach the day from a place of strength, not stress. You're not racing the clock, you're leading it. And that leadership over your own time doesn't just make you more productive, it makes you more confident. You walk into the day knowing you've already done what many people won't, and that quiet sense of self-leadership carries through in how you work, how you speak, and how you respond to the world around you. Waking early is not simply about shifting your sleep schedule, it's about cultivating a discipline that seeps into every corner of your life. The decision to rise at 5 a.m. is a commitment, and commitments require boundaries. You cannot expect to get up early consistently if you stay up late watching television, scrolling through your phone, or letting your evening slip away to unplanned distractions. Choosing to wake early means you must also choose to protect your rest, and that choice forces you to take control of your evenings with the same intention you bring to your mornings. It is in this shift, from staying up for no reason to going to bed for a purpose, that discipline begins to take root. Discipline is not built in the moments when it's easy, it's built in the moments when it's tempting to give in. When your alarm rings at 5 a.m. and your bed feels warm and inviting, discipline is the voice that says, get up anyway. Each time you honor that voice, you strengthen it. You prove to yourself that you are not governed by fleeting comfort, but by deliberate choice. Over time, this self-control doesn't just apply to your wake-up time, it begins to show up everywhere. You'll notice it in the way you approach your work, how you manage your health, and how you keep promises to yourself and others. Self-respect is a direct result of keeping these promises. When you commit to waking early and follow through, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I can trust me. That trust is the foundation of confidence. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent enough to know that when you say you'll do something, you'll do it. And once you have that trust in yourself, it becomes much harder to let yourself down in other areas. You start eating better because you respect your body. You work harder because you respect your goals. You speak with more conviction because you respect your word. The discipline of waking early also sharpens your ability to set boundaries. You begin to recognize that your time is finite and valuable, and you become less willing to spend it on things that don't serve your growth. This might mean turning down late night social events, limiting screen time in the evenings, or reorganizing your schedule so your mornings remain protected. These boundaries are not about restriction, they are about prioritization. They are about choosing the life you want most over the moments you want now. Mental toughness is another byproduct of this habit. There will be days when motivation is nowhere to be found, when the weather is cold, or when the fatigue from the previous day tempts you to sleep in. But each time you push past that resistance, you are training yourself to act regardless of feeling. You are developing the ability to do hard things not because they are easy, but because they are worth it. This resilience doesn't stay confined to your mornings. It follows you into your professional life, your relationships, and your personal challenges. It becomes part of who you are. There's also a quiet pride in knowing you are operating on a higher standard than you once were. When you consistently wake early, you begin to see yourself differently. You see someone who is in control, who is intentional, and who values their own growth enough to make sacrifices for it. This identity shift is powerful because our actions often rise or fall to the level of who we believe we are. When you believe you are disciplined, you act disciplined. When you believe you are capable of doing hard things, you start looking for more challenges to conquer. The ripple effect of this discipline reaches far beyond productivity. Waking at 5 a.m. teaches you that you are not a prisoner to old habits, that you can reinvent your patterns and in doing so, reinvent yourself. It proves that small, consistent decisions create massive change over time. And perhaps most importantly, it builds the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are in control of your choices, your time, and your life. That confidence is not loud or boastful. It's steady, grounded, and unshakable because it's built on evidence you've given yourself every single morning. The idea of waking up early often gets misunderstood as something reserved for morning people, those rare individuals who seem to naturally leap out of bed before sunrise. But the truth is, waking at 5 a.m. has nothing to do with being born a morning person and everything to do with becoming an intentional person. It's not about whether you feel an instant burst of energy the moment your eyes open. It's about the decision to use your time deliberately, to create space for the things that truly matter before the rest of the world has a chance to take that space away. When you focus on being intentional rather than fitting a personality label, the habit becomes about purpose, not preference. This means you're not waking early just to say you did or because some productivity trend told you to. You're doing it because you've identified the life you want to live and recognize that your mornings are one of the most powerful tools for building it. This mindset removes the pressure to be naturally energetic at dawn and replaces it with a deeper motivation. You are choosing your actions because they align with your goals, not because they align with your comfort. Intentionality turns the morning into a strategy. You might use those early hours to strengthen your body through exercise, to feed your mind through reading or study, or to map out your day with clarity and purpose. You might spend them creating something, solving problems, or practicing a skill. Whatever you choose, the key is that you are choosing it, not letting the momentum of yesterday or the demands of others decide for you. This is where the true transformation happens. You're no longer drifting through your schedule, you're designing it. When you wake with intention, you also free yourself from the tyranny of reaction. So much of life is spent responding to emails, to messages, to problems that pop up without warning. But if your day starts in reaction mode, it's difficult to break free from it. The early hours, when used purposefully, reverse that dynamic. They allow you to be proactive, to address your priorities before anyone else's, and to create a mental state of control rather than chaos. This shift is subtle at first, but over time, it becomes a defining difference between living by design and living by default. The beauty of focusing on intentionality rather than personality is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't have to love mornings to value what they give you. You only have to love what they help you build. For some, that might mean more time with family before work. For others, it might mean advancing a personal project, developing a side business, or simply enjoying moments of peace before the day demands begin. The specifics don't matter as much as the principle. You are using your most undisturbed hours in alignment with your highest priorities. Over time, the consistency of this choice reinforces the identity of an intentional person. You start to see yourself as someone who takes ownership of your time, someone who doesn't wait for the right conditions to make progress. That identity shift has a profound impact on your confidence and self-discipline. You begin to trust yourself to follow through on commitments, not because you feel like it every time, but because it's part of who you've chosen to be. And when your identity is rooted in intentionality, your habits follow naturally. This way of living also has a ripple effect. People around you notice the difference, not necessarily in the fact that you're awake early, but in the way you carry yourself. You're calmer, more organized, more present, and more prepared. You're not constantly catching up or feeling pulled in 10 directions. Instead, you seem to move with a steady rhythm, one that others may not understand at first, but eventually respect. That presence is the result of the quiet, deliberate choices you've made when no one was watching. Ultimately, the point is not to wake up early for its own sake. The point is to wake up to your life, to take ownership of the hours you've been given, and to align them with the person you want to become. The clock is just a tool. The real transformation comes from the choice to be intentional every morning, every day, and every moment that follows. When you make that choice at 5 a.m., you're not just starting the day earlier. You're starting it better, with clarity, with purpose, and with the kind of focus that can truly change the course of your life. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not about the number on the clock. It's about the mindset it represents. It's the decision to take ownership of your time before the world lays claim to it, to choose focus over distraction, and to lead your day instead of following it. In those early quiet hours, You're not just gaining extra time, you're gaining the best time, the clearest thoughts, the highest energy, and the strongest willpower you'll have all day. It's where discipline is forged, intentionality is practiced, and the tone for success is set. The change doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the daily choice to rise, to act, and to use those moments with purpose. And over time, those choices accumulate into a life that feels more in your control, more aligned with your goals, and more fulfilling. Wake up at 5 a.m., not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. And watch as those quiet mornings quietly transform everything.